guys, welcome back to another episode of the Better Together podcast for real estate agents. I'm Kiki King.
And I'm Brian Beliscan.
And today we're talking about social media marketing. You won't want to miss today's episode. So to my left, we have John Quindara, who is one of our agents here at Locations. And John, you graduated from St. Louis School.
I did. Shout out Crusaders.
Yeah.
Right.
Put that in.
With a Bachelor's of Science degree from Brigham Young University, majoring in psychology with a minor in conflict resolution.
I did.
As well as a graduate degree in architecture.
I did. I had no idea what I wanted to do, so I'm just all over the map.
Hey, that's amazing. That's like such a wide variety of specialties. I love it.
Yeah, and we also have Brandon Sakata, graduate from Wailua High School, elementary, intermediate, and high school, right? And also a graduate of UH Manoa in marketing. So that's impressive.
Thank you.
Yeah, marketing is perfect for the subject that we are talking about today.
Definitely.
So thank you guys for being here with us. This is going to be a great topic. This is definitely so relevant for the agents in the marketplace today. Social media is like the number one way that agents can market themselves for free, right? So why don't we start off with, I guess the first question I want to ask you guys, both of you, is how and why did you guys start promoting yourselves on social media?
Coming from a marketing background, I definitely seen, the importance of having social media in any type of business. So I think from, right when I got into real estate, which was about 8 years ago, I made the effort to, make a separate accounts for my social medias, like on Instagram, also Facebook, and then I made a Yelp page as well, just to kind of differentiate, my personal postings from my business postings. But on my personal side, I also do my business postings as well, right? So you're top of mind.
Yeah. So did you, like you said, about 8 years in the industry, did you actually start advertising on social media like right after you got started, or was it a few years in that you decided to start?
I started right when I got into the industry. So initially I posted on my personal page, I'm getting into real estate. Even before, when I actually joined Locations, I made it a thing to, actually make separate pages so I can reach outside of my sphere as well. So that's kind of what I really like about social media, is that it's a soft touch, with your current friends and family, where you're posting here and there, and you still post personal stuff as well. Not only business, right? You don't want to just blast everybody with business postings, right?
Mix it up.
Yeah, definitely mix it up. So you're top of mind in that sense, with your current friends and family. And then you have a business page, which you're able to touch people outside of your sphere. So I really like it, especially with my business, where I like to do soft touches, not, get in people's faces and, do you want to sell, buy anything, so.
Top of mind.
Top of mind, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's awesome. What about you, John?
Yeah, 100%. So I wanted to be like Brandon, so that's why I got into social media.
Everyone follows Brandon. Everyone follows you too.
No, well, so unlike Brandon, I didn't get into the social media game until pretty recently, actually, about 1.5 to 2 years ago.
Wow.
I was like really anti-social media, so I didn't post a whole lot. I wasn't on it as much, but I got to a point in my career where there was a lot of things I wasn't doing. So because of some obligations and some other things outside of real estate, I wasn't doing open houses on Sunday. Just like Brandon, I wasn't the guy to be knocking on doors and cold calling and being in your face. And so I got to a point where I needed to figure out how to supplement my loss of prospecting there, and to figure out how to prospect and market myself at a bigger scale, kind of like what you said. And so one day I was on Instagram, and just like the algorithm, right? I was looking at something real estate, so it showed me a real estate page of somebody in the mainland that was just sharing real valuable content. And I thought, oh, that's really interesting. So I saved it. And then because Instagram knew that, then I got flooded with a bunch of other realtors and their videos and stuff. And I was like, wow, I haven't seen anyone in Hawaii really do kind of what they're doing. And so about 1.5 years ago, I was like, you know what, let me get out of my shell and let me jump on that and kind of just market myself as much as I can on there to get more business and to, like Brandon said, get some soft touches to my sphere. So it's been good.
Nice.
Yeah.
So when you guys started off, Brandon started social media from the beginning, from the get-go, right? And John, you started a year and a half after you started. How much did social media contribute to your increase in business? Since you can see that from pre-social media till post.
So it's interesting, right? When you guys sent that question of how much leads, how much business did you generate? It's kind of hard to say exactly how much in terms of just cold leads, strictly from people I met through social media. That contributed to about half of my production last year.
Wow.
People that reached out through like Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, they reached out through a message or somehow, and I helped them buy or sell a home. But it's just, I say it's hard to kind of pinpoint that because like Brandon said, not only are you prospecting to new business and trying to get new clients, but at the same time, right, you're reaching out to your sphere and you're staying top of mind for them. And so I've helped a lot of my friends and family last year buy a home as well. And I don't know if I'd be able to say that if I wasn't actively on Instagram or on social media, because I don't know if I would have been top of mind for them when it came to their point as well. So yeah, it's contributed a lot. Well, I guess long and short, it's contributed a lot to the growth, at least in the last year and a half, for sure.
That's amazing. What about you, Brandon?
I think an important part to point out is that, you know, the social media aspect, especially in this time, you need, I think, to incorporate into your business. Every agent needs to do that.
Absolutely.
So like John was saying, you know, you have that additional pillar, which is your social media, and it helps out, you know, other pillars, whether you're doing open house, all these other pillars agents are used to doing. That definitely helps out, you know. Like John said, I don't know how many of my friends and family would have used me if I wasn't doing the postings, right? Because you're being top of mind in that sense. And that's how people keep in contact now, is social media. So by doing all these social media posts, it definitely keeps you top of mind. But sorry, to answer your question, it's kind of hard to say again with, you know, the exact numbers, but I looked through, I guess, my closings each of the past years, and I was able to kind of figure out maybe the amount. So I know in 2021 everybody had their craziest year, right? Due to the market. So I think out of the 27 transactions I did, I counted 10 from social media.
Wow.
So about same as John, maybe a little less than half.
That's impressive.
And then some other years, it was around half. Some years, it was maybe like a quarter of the transaction. So it differs. And some of them, you know, they take longer to transact. You just keep in contact with them. And again, I think it's pairing that with other things, especially like stuff what Locations has to offer too, with the emails and all of that, right? You're being kept top of mind throughout the whole process in terms of what they're seeing on their end.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's business that you probably wouldn't have gotten, just as you
I don't think so.
both pointed out, without the social media presence and staying top of mind. I mean, Brandon, I believe once I heard someone describe you as the hungry Hawaiian realtor.
Not anymore, but yeah.
So tell us a little bit about how, you know, that exposure and Yelp has helped you in your business.
I don't know if that's a good thing, but I got that before too. I was in public. Actually, I think it was in the office, and one of our admins said, "Oh, you're the guy on Hungry Hawaiian." I'm like, "Oh, that's me." So I guess to talk about how I got onto that platform was that I know they're the person running that Hungry Hawaiian on Instagram, which is, if you guys don't know, it's the viral account on Instagram, Hawaii local account. I was also on Broke the Cloud, which is another one.
So he's also the Broke the Cloud filter.
Oh, okay.
What is that?
It's another account.
Is that a dating site?
Come on.
I took advantage of that. So initially, when I seen that there, you could advertise on those sites. You give them the post and they post it for you. I thought about, could I incorporate this into my business? At the same time, I wanted to make sure it was the right decision because they don't post all good stuff on that
right.
account. You know, there's some viral stuff, Waikiki happening around the island. I was like, oh, is that a good image for myself? But I looked at who actually follows those accounts, and it was a wide range, because you can see your friends who follow those accounts, right?
Yeah.
It was actually all my friends followed those accounts. I'm like, yeah, I'll just take a chance. And I ended up speaking with the person in charge of those accounts, 2 different people. And then I paid them, in order to be on those accounts. And I would have a certain amount of posts I was allocated every week. But that really projected, I would say, my career. Those accounts they got banned. So there's no more. I don't do any postings out there, but it did help me to build a base. And I think I know a bunch of those clients, with the numbers I gave you earlier, like the 10 that transacted in 2021, a lot were from those, as well as doing paid ads on the side for new developments. That's something else I was heavily involved in as well. Yeah.
No, that's great. I mean, social media, that just goes to show that social media has this way of just expanding your organic reach like almost no other medium does.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta be in this generation, you gotta be on social media or you'll be missing out, or you're gonna be behind, right? What advice do you give someone who was not from this generation and in social media and are still in the business, but are missing out on the social media advantage, of building their client base and their business? What would you tell them?
I was going to say, I know Locations offers, classes run by Kiki, on how to, create social media accounts and all of that, what kind of videos and posts to put out there. So that's something, Locations has offered for any agent that doesn't know maybe how to get their foot in the door in terms of, the social media avenue. But I think...
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think 2 things to that question. So number 1, the reason why social media is so great, right, is that there's not a one-size-fits-all mentality to it. You can authentically be yourself on social media, and the more you're yourself, then the more I think you can get support and more following from those that you know. So I think anybody that's maybe feel like they're out of reach or outside of maybe this generation to do that, I'd say just get in front of a camera and just talk like you're yourself. Don't try to be like TikTok and do all these dancing and pointing. I know that can be intimidating. And to be honest, when I started making videos, I got into that too. I was like, oh, I like to dance, let me do dancing. But it kind of took me a while to find what my niche was, which I think I found recently. But so that's number 1, is just be yourself. Don't feel like you have to be a certain character or a certain personality to be effective in social media.
Right. The important thing is to be out in front.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the whole thing. No matter the content can come later.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
As long as you're out in front.
And because you're not gonna know what works for you until you get out there, right? Like you can spend like days in the lab trying to say, oh, if I set it like this or if I have this kind of lighting, then it'll do really well. And then when you post something out there and it doesn't do well, you're like, oh, I gotta go back to scratch. But just keep putting stuff out there, and then the more you'll see what you're comfortable with and what resonates with people. So that was gonna be number 2, is just do it. Just get out there.
And John mentioned an important thing. You gotta be consistent, right? Consistency is the key in social media, right? 100%. You can't just do one video and then 1 month later then come back again, right? So now that you guys have presence out there and you guys have your consistency and you guys are posting to social medias and being in front of your clients. Now, how do you guys transition that media touch into a personal relationship in your business?
No, that's a great question, Brian. So there's a formula that's related to transitioning from just content to getting sales.
Yes.
Number 1 is gonna be every post you do, everything you put out there, you want to make sure that there's a call to action, right? You want to make sure that you're moving your followers or your sphere to do something at the end of every post, right? Whether it's contact me for more information, or like what Brandon does a lot with his targeted ads for these projects, right? It's message me if you want to know about this particular project, if you want to know about affordable housing. So you want to make sure that when you're constantly putting things out there, yeah, it's great, we're creating content, but you got to be mindful that we're creating content to hopefully gain business. Yes. And although adding value is super important and making sure your content's really important, you got to understand that yeah, eventually you want to make sure that they're reaching out to you. And so prompting them and making sure that there's a call to action is super important so that they do that.
Yeah, good answer.
Yeah.
What about you, Brandon?
I think exactly what John said. I think it's putting, a message out there for, people that see your ad or see your post to contact you, call to action, right? And then I think it's also following up after, right?
100%.
Of course, if they reach out, you have to reach out, or you have to answer their questions and all of that. What I like to do is, get their information, get them on the phone possibly, and I also put them in, the CRM system we have at locations, and then that way they get, the automated emails and stuff like that. So, we're kept top of mind if it doesn't initially transact into a transaction right off the bat, which isn't the case right all the time. Or it's rare that somebody's going to contact you and say, "I'm ready to buy or sell." So
It does happen.
it does.
It does happen.
We've got stories, but it does happen. But for the most part, it's good to just have them, give you your information, give them information, put it in CRM, and then kind of have locations back in, take care of a lot of that stuff, right? Real estate reports and stuff like that.
Yeah, so on that note, kind of dovetailing off of that question, can you guys each share maybe one story of a client that you've gotten from social media that's actually gone from, responding to your posts, messaging you in the DMs and all the way to close?
Yeah, so interesting. So super recent client actually. It was actually a sell by. So they reached out to me to sell their first condo. And in the last year and beginning of this year, we just closed on their new single family home in Ho'opili. And the reason I bring them up is super interesting, right? Because they bought their first townhome not too long ago. It was like a year and a half ago when they reached out to me. And so we're coming up to their 2-year mark. And so they knew it was the right time to sell to avoid capital gains and then move up. And then when they first reached out to me about setting up a consultation to talk about their needs, I asked them, right? I said, "Hey, who did you use to buy your first townhome?" Because it wasn't too long ago.
Right.
And they brought up the person's name, who I knew, but they also mentioned something super interesting. They said that he was a great realtor, no complaints in the transaction, it was really smooth. But from the stuff he was posting on social media, they didn't know if he was fully selling homes anymore. So I thought that was really interesting. It wasn't even a bad experience or anything, but just because of his presence, they thought he wasn't maybe fully active as a realtor. And so when they came across my page and saw all my activity, they knew that I was doing it full time and that hopefully I could provide them the kind of service from a full-time agent. And then it was great. Like I said, we sold their home. Even in this tough market, we got multiple offers and they just moved into their brand new single family home. So it was a good experience.
And all just from your videos.
Yeah. Like I said, I'd never met them before. They reached out through Instagram.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was good.
That's great. That's a great story. What about you, Brandon?
Like John, we have a bunch of, I think, clients that we got from social media. I think one client or couple I got, about 1 or 2 years ago. They transacted, I believe in 2021, was from Instagram. And that client reached out because of, my presence on Instagram. I believe I did a couple posts on like USDA home loans where you can purchase, at 0% down, kind of like a VA loan, but for people that aren't in the VA. But pretty much that got certain people, interested, and this client ended up contacting me, and then we transacted, with 0% down, and they're happy about the purchase and all of that.
And that client was not from your sphere as well,
No.
just like John?
No.
Someone that just found your page,
Yeah.
liked your post. That's amazing.
Kind of piggybacking off of what Brandon just said about like the USDA loan and how that garnered a lot of attention. I think a lot of times realtors, we get caught up in trying to be the expert, right? We want to sound super smart.
Right.
And so we want to dive deep into like the transaction and like explain what every little part of the transaction is. But at the end of the day, at least from my experience, my most popular or the posts that got the most attention were the real basic stuff, right? It's what is the minimum down payment? What is your minimum credit score that you need to get? these are the type of loans. USDA does really well for some reason. I mean, of course, when you say 0%, everyone's like, oh, I want to buy a house now.
Okay, so I have 2 questions for you guys that I know everyone would love the answers to. Number 1 is, how much time do you guys spend on social media every week? And number 2, where do you find the inspiration for your content?
Okay, so I'll answer number 2 first.
Okay.
Content and finding content for anything that you post is real simple, right? It comes from our daily conversations with clients. Every time I talk to a client, if they ask me a question, I think to myself, wow, that's a really good question that maybe I should address, no matter how complicated or simple it is. And 2, well, I think just from anywhere, right? Like just recently, I just made a post yesterday about the market update that we just got sent from the Oreo from Locations. And Locations is great, right? They're pumping us with a lot of information, a lot of stats that we can share with our clients. And it's just figuring out a way, okay, how can I take that information and those numbers and make it digestible to some of the people that are following me. So interesting, right? That email that just came out that got blasted on my behalf. Thank you, Locations CRM, right?
Yes,
the top, yeah, right? The Oreo. So what was the first headline? It said, homes are sitting on the market. And then I opened the report, and what do we see? 41 days for single family homes, 30 days for condos and townhomes. And to me, that blew my mind because I don't remember the last time it was seen for that long. And so what I did, I opened up my camera and said, let me just make a quick video about why homes are sitting on, or what the market we're in, and homes are sitting and what that means if you're a buyer or seller.
Oh, that's
So
it.
it's just little things, right? In social media, you don't have to make super long form content. It can be really short. And because it's so short, you have to keep it simple. And so every time there's a question or something that comes out, just extract the real basic thing that you need from it. Think about how can I share that with my friends and family, and then go out and post.
I'll answer the first question first in terms of how much time I set aside for social media posts. Exactly what John said. It varies. So for me, I do monthly posts utilizing the Oahu Real Estate Report that Locations provide. So I just regurgitate that information, put it out to all my social media accounts, personal and business. So that takes, it's not that long. Couple minutes, right? But when there's new projects, that's when I, spend more time on my social media posts. So, for example, Kuile Place was just launched recently. Any new development with affordable housing or reserved housing, I found very beneficial to get leads from. So, those are the projects I take into account in terms of paying for ads to go out to people past my sphere. So, for example, with those projects, it takes a little bit longer, right, to come up with a post and then come up with the marketing material as well as the who I'm going to send it out to. So that takes a couple hours. But in general, yeah, maybe a couple hours a week in terms of how much time I set aside. I know videos take a little bit longer. I haven't gotten there yet on my end with doing videos, but John does an excellent
We'll get you
job.
there soon.
Yeah.
We'll get you there soon. This is your brand debut.
Yeah.
We'll see.
See, John produces content, and Brandon mostly focuses on distributing content, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of our marketing department works 24 hours a day working to get up-to-date information, and Brandon's a smart guy. He just takes the information and
Smarter than
he,
me,
Yeah.
he just sends it out, and he directs to whoever he wants or what type of clientele wants to see this kind of information, and that's smart, and having that resource in a company is important, right, Brandon?
Yeah, definitely. Even like the marketing materials, Locations provides, I sometimes go to marketing and they're able to produce something for me, and I'm able to put that out on social media as well. So
Right? Do you have to pay for that?
no, it's free.
All right, guys, thank you guys for all that information. We just want to ask you guys a final bit of advice that you would give an agent just starting off with social media, getting into it, or who has been doing it for a while but really is not seeing any traction. What kind of advice would you give them?
I think, for anybody out there that's that hasn't done any social media yet, get into it as soon as possible. Learn from maybe somebody else if they don't know where to start. There's a lot of YouTube videos now and tutorials out there where anybody can learn. So just take that initiative and start because it is a necessity, I think, in every real estate agent's business now and going forward.
So true.
And I think what we talked about earlier is just be yourself when you do these posts or videos, advertising your business or real estate content. I think that's what people want to see.
So just like Brandon said, just start. Just get out there, get your repetitions in, get in front of a camera. Right? We have so much great technology in the palm of our hands with our phones. Just get in front of it. That's the best way to market yourself, is putting your face in front of people's screens so they can see. And don't be worried about how you're gonna look like, how you're gonna talk like, because guess what? People see you and listen to you talk every day anyway. So it's not gonna change when you're in front of a camera. So just get out there, get your repetitions, you'll find out what works for you. And if you've been doing it for a while and you haven't seen a lot of traction, just know that social media and that beast in of itself changes all the time. The algorithms change all the time. So just like Brandon said, just be open to learning and adjusting and growing when they change and make those adjustments too.
So social media, guys, doesn't happen overnight. You got to consistently do this to see results, but don't give up, right, guys?
Yeah.
Just keep on working at it. Well, thank you guys for joining us on the Better Together podcast.
Thank you for having us.
Yes. Yeah, it's been so much fun, you guys, and we've learned so much from you guys. And for all of you guys who are tuning into this episode, be sure to follow John and Brandon. Why don't you share with us where they can find you on social media?
Yeah, you can find me at Home Keys Hawaii. So Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, whatever, wherever, just find me. I'll be there. Home Keys Hawaii.
Nice. And Brandon?
My Instagram's 808.realtor. And then all my other social media is just under my name, Brandon Sakata.
Perfect. And thanks everyone for tuning in today. I'm your host, Kiki King.
And I'm Brian Balisican.
And be sure to subscribe and stay tuned for future content on how to build and grow a successful and thriving real estate business.
And your call to action, which we learned from these two gentlemen, is like, subscribe, and share to our channel for more content. Better Together podcast.
See you next time.
Aloha. Yay.
And we have with us, okay.
All right, do some
Count us down.
stretches.
Yeah. But before we dive into this topic today, let us introduce our guests.
We have Brandon Sakata. Sakata or Sakata? Tomato.
You don't want to introduce Brandon? Then you can say that he's single and ready to mingle.
When we do season 3, we're gonna say Brandon is now engaged. Put this instead. This is more relevant, that's why.
Okay.
I got a graduate degree in architecture.
Wow. Cool. Architecture.
Graduate degree. Yeah.